What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Running Gold Standard podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn. Matt, how you doing this Saturday night?
I'm doing pretty well, man. We had a nice little family day today. Everybody's gearing up for the holidays, so families coming together, doing all that stuff. It's a good time, wrapping Christmas presents, doing all that stuff. But I gotta say, we're gonna get into it, but this game kind of has me nervous.
Yeah, I agree, man. I'm not feeling too good about this game, especially without Elijah Mitchell. Like you said, we're going to get into it. Guys, if you're watching on Twitter, head over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/49ers Hive. That way we can see your thoughts. If you're watching on Twitter, commenting, we're not ignoring you. We just cannot see anything. That's the way Twitter's streaming is set up. So go to YouTube and subscribe while you're there because we want to see your comments. We want to interact with them. Let's talk some 49ers this Saturday night. Thanks for tuning in, Fernando and Hunk Fat. Appreciate you guys. So let's get right into it with the injury reports. We can go ahead and start with those. For the 49ers, Elijah Mitchell, like I said, is out. Emmanuel Mosley is out. Dre Greenlaw's out. Maurice Hurst and Trenton Cannon are also out. Deebo Samuel is out. This Dante Johnson was questionable, but he's now officially out as of earlier today with a personal issue. And as for the Bengals, they have some players out for themselves. Joe Burrow will play. He's got that pinky injury. Joe Mixon will play. Awuzie, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He's questionable. And Shelvin and Bailey, defensive tackle and linebacker, are doubtful. And their linebackers, Wilson and running back, Evan, are out. So they both have some some players that they're dealing with on both sides. But it seems like the 49ers kind of have the heavier injuries when you're kind of weighing out these players. How are you feeling without Elijah Mitchell? Last week we had to endure no Deebo Samuel. Now it's no Elijah Mitchell. How do you feel, Matt?
Yeah, it's just going to bring the 49ers limitations into the light, I believe. If I'm the Bengals, I'm stacking the box again and making Jimmy Garoppolo beat you and see if he can go punch for punch, because now you're talking about a team that, has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow who can, throw the ball deep downfield, and you're running out what's going to be a very inexperienced, cornerback group. We don't know who's starting, if it's going to be Ambry Thomas or Deommodore Lenoir. Either way, the 49ers could definitely be in trouble. The thinness of that position has been something that we've talked about the entire year, and now it's coming up to the point where they could get down in a hurry, and you're looking at having Jimmy Garoppolo try to bring you back from the brink. And I just don't know if he has a signature Jimmy start in him. People like to point out that we're about 2 years away from that 2019 Saints game, which is largely considered his best as a 49er. But can you really rely on that, particularly without a running game, particularly with Deebo Samuel, who even if he does play, we don't know how effective he's going to be. Last year he had a hamstring injury. He came back and, pulled the hamstring again. So you got to be careful with him. And then if you're left with just Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle out there, that makes the coverage a little bit easier for the Cincinnati Bengals. So when you look at both sides of the ball, the Bengals are going to have an advantage on offense in the passing game. And the 49ers are going to struggle if they don't have their weapons out there. And it's looking like it's either going to be Jeff Wilson Jr. or JaMychal Hasty, who, let's face it, just aren't as good as Elijah Mitchell.
They're not. And Elijah Mitchell showed repeatedly how important he is to this offense. But I think this game is going to come down to the 49ers defense and whether or not they can stop all of the players you just mentioned that the Bengals have on offense. Jamar Chase was looking as the offensive rookie of the year front runner up until he kind of hit a rut the last 5 games. If I saw the stats correctly, I think he's been held under 66 yards receiving over the last 5 games. I unfortunately expect that to change tomorrow against the 49ers young and, let's be honest, bad in some cases. Secondary, Josh Norman is Josh Norman. He's not going to stop anybody. It looks like Ambry Thomas might have a slight nudge above Deommodore Lenoir now. We'll see what happens. Dante Johnson, like I said, to start the show, is out with a personal matter. He was questionable all week, and then it was announced, I believe, by Ian Rappaport today that he will be out. So the young guns are going to get called upon. I I don't know, it kind of bothers me in the sense that the 49ers have had all 12 games to kind of get them up to speed, and they haven't really done that. And now they're kind of same thing against the Seahawks last week, throwing them to the Wolves and saying, okay, we need you to stop them now because there's nobody else. Do you think they should have approached this a little more preparedly? I guess I don't really know.
Yeah, in some of the games that were out of, like the Jacksonville game, you got to put those guys in at the end of the game. I know that you're trying to maintain a lead, but Jacksonville really wasn't a threat to come back. There are some other games where the 49ers were down and you realize that they're not going to come back, and you really just have to put the young guys in there and get them some reps. Every rep is valuable, and I understand not doing it necessarily with Trey Lance if that's going to be the plan that you have for him, but when you have these other positions, you need to get those guys out there. I know Ambry Thomas goes out there on special teams, but that's not seeing the other side of the ball. That's not playing defense, lining up across from a receiver. And people forget that he opted out during the COVID year. So he was already behind the 8 ball. And so he's trying to play catch up. But if you're not getting reps, it gets really hard. So I know Fernando saying Diamador Lenore giving up a passer rating of 125.4. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like neither of these guys are blue chip talents. I mean, Ambry Thomas is the higher selected guy, but even he's a 3rd rounder. You look at Lenore, who's a 5th round guy. Like it's hard to have expectations of these guys, especially now that they don't have the reps and you're asking them to step up in a difficult situation. This reminds me of he who shall not be named getting pressed into duty last year and promptly giving up a bunch of touchdowns.
Yeah, that was extremely ugly. But to be fair, when we talked about this in the recap show, I believe last week, how quickly they pulled the plug on Diamador Lenore, both to begin the season and then again last week. I think it was last week when they pulled him really quickly and they put in Dante Johnson. I would have liked to have seen them give the rookie the opportunity to kind of work through it, take his licks and see if he can improve. Whereas instead, oh, you're not doing good, we're going to take you out immediately. And it kind of reminds me of what they did with, I know it's totally different, but Akello, it's like they would get him out there, he'd be playing well, and then the second he would kind of give something up or have a bad quarter, they would pull him, bench him, and then put the next guy in. And for a cornerback, I think mentality and kind of confidence is like half of the game. So when you're consistently telling them you can't do it, we don't have faith in you, after just a couple of errors, that can't be building up their confidence. So we'll have to see. Like we said, now they're kind of being thrown to the wolves and said, good luck, take care of business. Here's Jamar Chase, who is probably the best rookie receiver that we've seen this season. So good luck.
Yeah. He's right there at I think he's got 958 yards and 8 touchdowns. He's probably going to pass 1,000 yards tomorrow. And then you've had T. Higgins too, who's come on the last few weeks. He was absolutely out of his mind last week. I think he had 10 catches for like 138. And, it's just one of those things where you got to pick your poison, and Joe Burrow is good. And when you look at his metrics, he's one of the best quarterbacks when under pressure. He's able to get that ball out. So you hope the pinky's a factor, but they're making it sound like it's not. And if Burrow has time to sit back there and pick the defense apart, man, it's going to be, it can get ugly real quick. And then you're looking at, you're down multiple scores, and you need to have Jimmy Garoppolo, who did not play well against the Seattle Seahawks, try to lead you back to victory.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, and we will see how much that pinky injury does actually affect Burrow tomorrow. I think the 49ers are definitely going to need to continue to cause some turnovers. We saw them continue that streak last week in Seattle. Wasn't ultimately enough to get the win, but the defense definitely kept them in the game, even though they kind of had a couple of big mistakes. I think last week the Bengals, if I remember correctly, had like 4 turnovers against the Chargers. That's huge. I mean, that's basically asking to lose. So if the 49ers can pressure them into multiple turnovers, I think they should give the offense a good shot at least putting up some points and staying in the game, even without Elijah Mitchell, because we have seen the 49ers before throw Deebo Samuel in the backfield. Are you concerned that they might overuse him with this injury that he's kind of, I mean, he might not even play. He's still questionable technically, but if he does play, are you concerned with overusing him?
Yeah, they seem to, once somebody is, out there and ready, it seems like they're a full go. But I mean, you can't always use it's really hard, right? You have to just see how the player's feeling. Who would have thought that 10 days after a dislocated shoulder that Dalvin Cook would run for 200 yards and a touchdown on a Thursday night game? So you never know.
I see our friend is back, Matt.
Yeah, Dylan, Matt, what seat are we right now? Can you remind me? I don't know. You weren't here last week after the L, so you conveniently hid your face on that one. And that it's very possible that they lose tomorrow, and then we'll come talk. So
yeah,
I expect if they lose tomorrow, I expect you to come back in here and start chirping again.
We'll see.
Anyway, we'll touch up on it. It's still a lot of games left.
Yeah,
it's still a lot of games left. So the 49ers still have 5 games.
Yeah,
and they need the win in like all of them.
Yeah. So here's a comment I want to get your perspective on. Clownman says Joe B has had a week for his finger just to get worse, not better. Injuries like that continue to get progressively worse for 2 weeks, then get better. It hardens up, etc. As our medical expert, is that correct at all?
No. He dislocated the pinky. It's back in place. There's really nothing. If he's not aggravating the injury, and it's not a matter of hardening up, it's just you worry about the stabilization of the joint. If they feel like it's not going to dislocate again, then there's nothing really to worry about. And really, you're just fighting swelling, which is something that you can manage, day to day with ice, with anti-inflammatories. You can perhaps, use some pharmacologic intervention if you need to. But yeah, that once the dislocation's there, and they put that pinky back in joint, there's no guarantee that it's at higher risk for coming out again. It's just going to depend, because of the way that it was dislocated the first time. You're really looking at contact as what's going to be the driving force, not necessarily just gripping and throwing a football. If he can do that already, then he's probably fine.
Okay. So we'll see. Then it's a matter of, like you said, possibly re-injuring or the 49ers banging him up again. We'll have to see how he can manage that pain. He seems to be as tough as any quarterback out there. Right. We saw him take his licks last season.
Here is the thing, though. If there is inflammation in that finger, it could subtly affect his grip. And he already leads the NFL in interceptions.
Right.
So if he's spraying the ball around a little bit, this 49ers defense, they might be able to take advantage, and they absolutely have to. There can't be any of this, oh, man, I dropped the pick or whatever. If the ball comes their way, they have to make Joe Burrow pay for that mistake. That's really what is going to, in my opinion, decide. Because Joe Burrow is going to get the ball out. The Cincinnati Bengals, I mean, even with those 4 turnovers last week, they still dropped over 20 points. I know the Chargers defense is pretty bad, but it's one of those things where even with the turnovers, they're going to move the ball. And so you have to make them turn the ball over in a way that puts you in an advantageous position for your offense to get points every time that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Without Elijah Mitchell, it's going to be tough for the 49ers to get something going offensively, because I think, if I remember correctly, when Jimmy Garoppolo throws like 26 or more times, I think they're like 1-4, if I remember correctly. Or
yeah, it's not good.
Probably, no, they're not good. So they need to find a way to get the ground game going however they can. I know we're not big on Jeff Wilson because he hasn't really proved anything as far as a main running back role. And obviously they're without Trey Sermon. He's out for the year. So then it comes down to Jeff Wilson, JaMychal Hasty, and newcomer Brian Hill, who they just signed to the practice squad this week, and they called up. So it's going to be a lot of kind of unfamiliar guys back there aside from Jeff Wilson. I don't know if they can get it done, to be honest. We saw George Kittle, though, Matt, step up majorly last week without Deebo Samuel. He put basically the offense on his shoulders. Do you expect that to continue again tomorrow against the Bengals?
I expect the Bengals to try to game plan George Kittle out. It's like what you're talking about is, if I'm looking at it, it's stack the box and then take away the middle of the field from Jimmy Garoppolo. And it still amazes me how so many teams don't just shade their coverage to force the ball outside from Jimmy Garoppolo, because when he throws outside, it's almost always one that you're just like, ooh, that could be picked.
Yeah.
He just doesn't put zip on the ball. There was a practice video floating around earlier this week where they rolled out him and Trey Lance in practice. And it was like, it was probably Grant Cohn that said it, but it was like one was a pick six, the other one was a good sideline throw.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that with Jimmy Garoppolo, where he just does not put the zip on the ball to the outside, and it gives time for the defense to react. So this is a dangerous Bengals team. And it doesn't, Dylan's saying they're inconsistent, but they just laid a stinker against the Chargers, which means they're going to be motivated to not do that. It's going to be interesting. I'm hoping that the 125 start time is something that the Bengals is a little off for them, but you never know. So they need to get out. They need to try to get the ball to Kittle. But again, that's one of those things where if I'm the Bengals, I'm trying to take the ball out of Kittle's hands and see how the 49ers adjust in the passing game when it's Brandon Ayuk and not a lot else outside.
Yeah, the one thing I will say that will bode well for the 49ers, or at least should, is that the Bengals, I think it was PFF, has them 29th as far as defending the middle of the field. And Jimmy Garoppolo is reading that like foaming at the mouth. Yeah. So if that is something that they can exploit, the 49ers, that is, it could go the 49ers' way, and they could actually find some success with George Kittle, with Brandon Ayuk. I would like to see them get Juwan Jennings involved. He's actually been a pretty good wide receiver 3 option for the Niners when they look his way. Brandon Ayuk, though, has really impressed me this season with how he's kind of responded to the adversity and then kind of being challenged by his own coaching staff, front office, in the media even, and still saying, all right, cool, let's do it. And he's still gone out there and performed well. So I would like to see him kind of continue to step up, and hopefully Jimmy Garoppolo can throw his way, because it seems like he almost catches everything he does, anything that's below a foot over his arms, I guess I should say, because some of them are just impossible to catch.
Yeah. It's just not going to be, I don't know.
Yeah,
but
we'll see. Let's see, who is it? Dylan saying name one linebacker on Cincy. I'll wait.
The linebacking, that's not as important as the fact that the 49ers are going to have to put up points to keep up with the Bengals. Like, name a good 49ers cornerback for this game, like K'Wan Williams, and that's about it. Everything else is going to be crazy in terms of trying to get guys who haven't played out there to cover really good wide receivers.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be tough. And I think their starting linebacker, Logan Wilson, is out. Or he's at the very least, I forget what I said to start the show. No, he is out. He is out. So that's their starting linebacker. I believe their starting center might not play as well. So that should be big for the 49ers. If the defensive line could take advantage and kind of force Joe Burrow into some errant throws. Like Matt said earlier, he leads the league in interceptions, which when I saw, I kind of had to double take, because I wouldn't have expected that from Joe Burrow, but he gets a little risky with his passes. So the 49ers absolutely need to take advantage of those. Fernando says they are who they are. Don't sleep on the Bengals. They are better than you think. They almost beat the Packers and destroyed the Steelers. Yep. The Steelers, yeah. But yeah, they're a good team. I'm not discounting them at all. We'll get into our recap, our preview, I guess I should say, score predictions later. I don't think the Niners can get it done. I'm being 100% honest with you guys. I think out of this 5-game stretch remaining in the season, they probably need to win 3 to hope to get the 7th seed. I think this is one of the 2 they can't overcome. Right. Injuries. The Bengals are a good team on the road. I can't see them doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah. He says, Dylan says, Josh Norman forced a fumble on hamburger hand chase. Book it. Hamburger hand chase. That's funny.
Yeah, I don't know, but then Jamar is gonna drop 2 touchdowns on his head.
Yeah.
And draw like 4 PIs.
Yeah, I agree. We'll get into our kind of bets of the week, props of the game, I should say, later. But right now, Matt, the line is sitting at 1.5. Cincinnati minus 1.5. What do you like, the over or under at 49? I know you're
at 49 points. I like the over. Yeah. Both these defenses have injury issues, so I feel like points are going to be. Actually, hold on. Before we get there, do you know what the weather is supposed to be like in Cincy tomorrow?
I do not. I saw Cam Inman posting pictures. It looked cloudy, but I don't
50
know what the
degrees,
weather.
50 degrees and clear tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
So yeah, yeah. I think that the over is the safe bet, and I usually like to take it. Except the one time that I did was that Monday night game where yeah, Mac
It's a
Jones threw for 3
monsoon.
times. I saw the video of the kicker warming up and then kicking it and the wind just shanking it off like 50 feet
Yeah.
to the right, and I'm just like, "Nope, this is definitely an under sort of game."
Yeah.
But this, yeah, the weather's not gonna play a factor. You have 2 ailing defenses. I would take the over on this for sure.
Yeah, that game was crazy. Kudos to Bill Belichick. Only he could find a win, passing 3 times in a game.
Yeah, it's
Insane.
pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Pretty nuts.
um, so I really just think that the 49ers, they have a lot to overcome, and I'm not sure if they can. And I don't think that that's necessarily a slight on them. I just think the Bengals are a good team. They were started off one of the hottest teams in the AFC, atop the AFC North. I know they've kind of cooled down a little bit since, but they're still a very capable team. It reminds me,
They play to their opponent. That's the thing with them.
yeah,
They seem to play to their opponent. I mean, they absolutely lambasted the Steelers, but that's like a division game. Those are really hard to. But then they beat a team like Buffalo, and then lose to. I think they lost to Jacksonville. And you're just like, what is this team right now? So
yeah,
very inconsistent team. But I mean,
yep,
so are the 49ers. We talk about it. They're consistently inconsistent. And now you got Jimmy Garoppolo coming off a really bad game. And now what's the pressure like? Because you know that he hears the whispers. You know he hears for the calls for Trey Lance. And he knows that as soon as the 49ers are out of contention, he's probably pulled and they're going to let Trey Lance play.
yeah.
So does he put the pressure on himself, and does that cause him to make more mistakes, or does he rise to the occasion? It's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, literally every single time I've come on this show and said Jimmy's got it, he's going to do it. He's proved me wrong, so I'm not going to do that just for all of our sakes. But I just hope that they could get something going on the ground, because I'm not too confident in Jimmy Garoppolo's ability to carry the offense. He hasn't really proved that he's able to do that outside of like 2 games with his entire career with the 49ers, that Saints game that Matt referenced earlier, and maybe the Rams game.
He had
same
a 4
season.
touchdown game against Arizona.
Yeah. Was that the Halloween game, I believe?
Think so, yeah.
Yeah. So he needs to, Ian Sharp said we need an interception-free game from
The
Jimmy
49ers
Garoppolo.
need a turnover-free game.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have fumbling the second half kickoff.
No.
You can't have that kind of stuff. So
I don't think they've played a turnover-free game this season,
no.
Right?
No, they have. They have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they have. They've got a couple. Jimmy is going to torch the Bengals easily. Dylan, you are out of pocket tonight, man.
I like the confidence.
Yeah.
But I don't see it.
No. Jimmy's going to have his typical 17 for 23 with 220, maybe a touchdown and an interception. That's going to be Jimmy's line.
Jeez. Can we talk about real quick Azeez Al-Shaair and how good he's been for the 49ers?
He's been very good. They need to. I've heard, I don't know how reputable it is that they're working on an extension for him. They better extend him quickly and not let him hit the open market, because if he does, he's gone. Somebody's going to pay him.
I totally agree. It was and I apologize for not getting the account name, but an account I saw on Twitter that was on Instagram that was saying they are engaging with contract discussions with Azeez Al-Shaair. Like Matt said, I don't know how credible that is, but it's possible. So,
yeah.
But he has been incredible for the 49ers, especially replacing Dre Greenlaw, who the 49ers had high hopes for going into the season and has played 2.5 games or a game and a half this season, I believe. He's been fantastic, and the 49ers cannot afford to let him leave in free agency, because a linebacker trio of Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, and Azeez Al-Shaair is as good as you could find any 3 linebackers, I'd say, in the NFL. And especially with Fred Warner kind of taking a step back performance-wise this season. He hasn't really played up to his own standards that we've seen in years past. The kind of rise of Alshire has really helped the 49ers defense. And I think he's had a turnover in the last 2 games. So hopefully he can continue that tomorrow against the Bengals, because they need it, man. They need someone to step up outside of Nick Bosa.
He's somebody that they have to get under contract. He's not someone that you can't franchise tag Alshire with the linebacker tag being what it is. It's $17.4 million for a franchise tag. That's a lot. They're gonna have to get him under contract. I'd expect him to get somewhere between 8 and 10 a year. He's not that top flight level of linebacker, but he's just a solid piece. He reminds me of Ahmad Brooks in terms of, like, you know, Greenlaw and Warner get all the pub just like Bowman and Willis did, but then you have like the third guy who's just like a solid player. And so for me, Alshire is that Ahmad Brooks type third level guy where you're just like, yeah, you're not going to be the highest paid linebacker in the league, but we're going to compensate you well because we know what you can do. We know you're reliable. We know you're going to be there. And those are the type of depth pieces that you need on a team to have a solid roster.
Yeah. So Coach Yak on Twitter tweeted this out per Pro Football Reference. Azeez Alshire over the last 2 games, 24 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. I beg you to find a linebacker that's put up those stats in the last 2 games.
GG's.
Great games, and they need it to continue tomorrow. On the offense, though, we've talked about the running game without Elijah Mitchell. What do you expect? We've talked about maybe what we didn't expect, but what do you expect from the 49ers trio of unproven? I don't want to call them untalented because I want to stay respectful, but you know, Wilson, Hasty, Hill.
Yeah, I expect Shanahan to know that Jeff Wilson Jr. and JaMychal Hasty aren't going to be able to do the traditional Shanahan run game to level that he wants it at. I mean, even Elijah Mitchell last week, I know a lot of that was after the hit that he took, which I'm still puzzled how he got back into the game because he looked like he was knocked unconscious.
And it wasn't called.
Right. Oh, you mean the hit?
Oh, the hit, yeah. The hit to the head.
Yeah, but that's not a thing for running backs, dude. It's really not.
If we're calling it fairly.
I mean, running backs don't get that call. Wide receivers and quarterbacks get that call. Running backs really don't because they lower their own head. So it's like because you remember 2 years ago they tried to, running backs lowering the crown or whatever. And it was just so many penalties all the time. I think they've kind of like taken that away. But Shanahan's going to try to get tricky with it. It is what it is. I don't think that Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to be able to do anything more than what I remember people pounding the table. Jeff Wilson Jr., he's going to be the starter. And I'm like, he's not that good, y'all. And here he is toting the rock for like a nice crispy 2.8 a pop. So I expect more of that. I like JaMychal Hasty. He's just been very inconsistent and he's been getting dinged up a lot, whether it's an ankle or a shoulder. Last year, was the broken forearm. It's just, he seems to get nicked up a lot. Same thing with Elijah Mitchell. These running backs have been getting chewed up a little bit. So it went from one of the strengths that we thought in the offseason, right? Where you're just like, oh, we got Trey Sermon. Oh, we got Raheem Mostert. We got whatever. And then when Jeff Wilson comes back, and literally every running back on this roster has had an injury where he misses games. It's Mostert for the season. Elijah Mitchell's missed games. Hasty's missed games. Jeff Wilson Jr. missed the first 8 games or whatever it was. So it's not good when you're having to bring in Brian Hill off of the streets to be in your running back group. It's just not good. So Shanahan's going to have to figure something out. We've already seen a game where Kyle Juszczyk was the starting running back. So we could be at that point again.
Yeah, we very well could be. Speaking of former 49ers running backs too, or running backs, I should say, for the 49ers. I saw Wayne Gallman was released by the Falcons. And I also remember this offseason where people were saying he's going to start.
When people were like, why'd they release Wayne Gallman? Because Wayne Gallman sucks.
Yeah.
In terms of NFL running backs, no, I mean, obviously Wayne Gallman's like 1,000 times the athlete I'll ever be. But in terms of NFL running backs, he's not somebody that you're going to hang your hat on to be this, bell cow back for you. It's not something that they were prepared to do.
No. And a lot of people were saying he's going to be the starter. He's going to be running back 2.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. They released him, roster cuts, and he was just released by the Falcons. I wouldn't. I think he was just released
El
yesterday.
Jefe is a guy. Are you talking about Jeff Wilson?
Yeah.
Is he talking about Jeff Wilson?
He's talking about Jeff Wilson. For those listening,
fraud.
He says F.
He's
Wilson is a god. Just wait, he's going off.
He's a fraud. Other than 2 carries for 1 yard and a touchdown and the 0 blitz against Arizona, what has he ever done? Yeah. I'll wait. His career yards per carry are like 1.
He was a good short distance and goal line back in the 2019 season.
He's a very limited role type of player. Yeah. But to say he's going to go off, maybe. I mean, I hope he does. I hope he does. I would love to sit here tomorrow night and say that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But you can't pound the table.
Yeah. Ian and Dylan also said he had a great game against the Patriots.
A great game.
Yeah.
A great game.
Who had
Pretty
no
sure
defense.
Ryan Leaf had a great game one time too.
He hasn't done anything consistently enough to
hasn't done anything to earn the type of love that he's getting in this chat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So 1 game, dude. I don't care about 1 game. He needs to do more. He needs to do more. How about that? Yes. Prove me wrong, Jeff Wilson Jr. Prove me wrong. Because the 49ers are going to need a solid presence in the running game if they're going to win this game.
Yep. If he can have 1 more tomorrow, that's it for me. I'll tip my hat to him.
And some of the people that are saying, oh, 1 good game, or like, the people that pound the desk for Jeff Wilson Jr. are the same people that are like, Jimmy Garoppolo sucks. We need to get him out of there. And it's just like Jimmy Garoppolo's had more than 1 game.
Yeah. So
dang, man, Dylan is out of pocket today. He must be drinking. No offense, Dylan. I'm just messing with you. I actually hope I am proven wrong by Jeff Wilson Jr., though, because the 49ers really need it. And I'd like to see them get a victory. The longer the 49ers are in the playoff hunt, the better, Yeah.
Yep, I agree. So speaking of, we talked about Debo earlier, kind of coming back from injury. Well, George Kittle, and I saw some of you guys commenting in the chat too, like he's back to the same as he was previously. People were saying it's Kittle washed, is his best days behind him. He has completely kind of turned it on the last couple of games. Since returning from injured reserve, 25 catches, 379 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He, after going a full calendar year, has caught a receiving touchdown, I believe, in 3 or 4 of his last 4 games, which is huge. Last week he had 2, including that amazing tight end screen that he carried along the sideline and went 48 yards. So yeah, just wanted to shout out George Kittle because a lot of people were saying his best days are behind him. I don't think we're going to see anything like the performances he's put up anymore. And he's playing extremely well, and the 49ers desperately need that if they want to make the playoffs and then win any playoff games.
I never bought into that hype because he had a really good 2019 season. And then last year it was Jimmy Garoppolo was out. He had the knee injury where Budda Baker took him out. And you talking about lower body injuries for somebody like George Kittle, that's kind of stuff catches up to you in terms of, not being able to do all the things that you want to do. And then you're talking about playing with quarterbacks who just aren't very good in Nick Mullins and an injured Jimmy Garoppolo. Then this year he had the calf strain like right off the bat, which limited him. So you're seeing when he comes back from injured reserve and he gets to be healthy, what he's still capable of. Yeah. So the key is keeping him injury free. And some of these injuries that he's had, particularly with like the Budda Baker stuff, it's just bad luck, man. It's just really bad luck. So him being out there in full strength is just a boon for the 49ers. And I never doubted George Kittle was still a fantastic tight end. I just think that injuries kind of take a hit a little bit. And it really limited what he was able to do.
Yeah, definitely. And it was interesting that he had his best season with CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins, but that's because there's nobody outside of him that was actually a threat in the receiving game. So it was like everything went to George Kittle. The offense kind of operated through him. And we've seen him kind of have a resurgence here this season, which is fantastic. So
yeah. Well, and also don't forget either that season that George Kittle had, that he was only a second-year player, so the tape just wasn't out on him. And you're talking about a team that was without Jimmy Garoppolo, and you're like, all right, well, what's he realistically going to do? And then by the time, everybody kind of caught up, it was too late, and he had that incredible season. But then he kept it up with Jimmy Garoppolo the next year in 2019, where he had another 1,000-yard season, where he played. I mean, even in 2019, he only played in 14 games, had over 1,000 yards. But then in 2020, he only played 8 games. He's missed 3 so far. So the injuries are really what's limited his production.
Yeah, definitely. He currently right now sits on the year with 44 receptions for 606 yards and 5 touchdowns. Do you think he reaches 1,000?
If he stays healthy, I think he can.
Okay.
If he stays healthy, I think he can. Particularly, if the 49ers offense is humming along. So
right.
He's got 5 games to do it. So he needs to average 80 yards a game to do it, which is a tall task for a tight end for sure. But I think he can get there.
I agree. And I also think he could get into the double digits with touchdowns. He needs 5 more. I think he could do it. I mean, last week he had 2. He's capable. He's becoming a red zone threat again for this team.
That's the key is what does he do in the red zone?
Yeah. So I'm hopeful. I think he can. If the 49ers manage to end the season with 2,000 yards receivers, that would be huge. That would be huge since Kittle was the last one to do it. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get 1,000-yard rusher with Elijah Mitchell. Well, he needs 240 basically, and he's going to have
Mitchell?
4 games to do it. So 60 yards a game if he returns after tomorrow. He can do
it. They're holding him out because of the concussion issue. Like really,
yeah.
He hasn't cleared protocol. I would expect him to be back next week. So
that would be big.
Yeah, they definitely can do that.
Yeah. But guys, real quick, I want to plug our new merch. I'm wearing it right now. Speaking of George Kittle, it's his touchdown celebration, putting the star on the tree. So go to shop49ershive.com, enter code RGS15. You'll get 15% off your whole purchase. You can get it just in time for Christmas. If you know a 49ers fan in your life, you can get it for them. It's available in men's, women's, children, I believe, some accessories. Go and support the channel, support 49ers Hive, support Matt and myself. Shop49ershive.com, code RGS15, and you can get our new Christmas merch. Previous years, we've done the Santa Claus, or returned Kyle Shanahan into Santa Claus. With the way the season was going at the time, I didn't really think people were going to want to buy Shanahan merch because there was like a fire Kyle Shanahan trend going around. So we did George Kittle instead. Go support the channel. Shop49ershive.com, code RGS15. Go check out our new merch. We're going to be wrapping things up here shortly. We'll get you our keys to victory, props for the game, final score predictions, you name it. But you guys gotta comment your predictions. If you get the final score correct, you know the deal. We'll send you some free merch. So comment your final score either in the live chat. If you're watching this after we've gone live, you can comment in the YouTube comment box, or just tweet at us on Twitter. Either way you get it to us, it's valid. But you got to keep track because there's so many that come at us. We don't know if anybody got it right. So keep track. If you got it right, we'll definitely send you some merch. If we win the bowl, which we will, I get my own merch. If the 49ers win the Super Bowl, Dylan, we will make you your own merch here.
Yep. We'll make you a piece of merch for sure.
Limited edition Dylan Hive merch. That sounds like a deal. Shake. You got it.
Yep.
Nice. Kittle.
And again, remember what you said. If the 49ers miss the playoffs, you're buying a jersey for somebody. You said buy a jersey for me, but we're going to turn it into a giveaway where you buy somebody else a jersey.
There you go. I like that. I like that idea.
My wife will not let me have any more jerseys in my closet. That's why.
All right. So let's go ahead and get into all right. Dylan says bet. Let's do it.
All right. Like to see it.
Let's do it. So let's get into our keys to victory. We don't usually do this segment, but I think it would be kind of cool to get maybe 1 to 2 things, however you want to shape it up, Matt, that you think the 49ers need to do to win tomorrow.
Force Joe Burrow into mistakes, first of all. I think it's incredibly important. NFL league leader in interceptions right now. Make him turn the ball over. It puts your team in good field position, and it helps mitigate some of the loss that you have in terms of not being able to run the ball as consistently as you'd like to. When you start with great field position, you're going to end up getting points one way or another. And the way to do that is shorten the field. So if they can do that, that's something that they need to do. On the other side of the ball, Jimmy Garoppolo needs to take care of the football. He cannot do what he did against Seattle. He cannot miss a linebacker the way he missed Bobby Wagner. He cannot throw a pick where he misses a wide open dude that would have 6 and throw it over the head of another receiver into the waiting arms of a safety. Just unacceptable. He needs to pay attention to what he's doing. And in turn, the 49ers need to take the ball. I know that's kind of a cop-out. It's like force turnovers and then, don't turn the ball over. But, I mean, in this type of game where you have injuries on both sides of the ball, where you have quarterbacks who at times can be inconsistent, but both teams have good weapons on the outside, it's going to be the turnover game is what's going to make the difference.
I totally agree. It's really important and vital they win that turnover battle, because if they lose the turnover battle, I cannot envision them winning the game. So we'll see. Dylan says 33-24 49ers. He's really, really confident. Yeah, and we'll share our final score predictions to end the stream. Ian has a 28-24 49ers. Clownman says 49ers 28, Bengals 20. All 49ers wins so far in the chat. So I like it. A very confident chat tonight. I like it. A major difference from a couple of weeks ago when everybody was like, we're not winning another game this season. It's crazy what a couple of wins under your belt can do for you. For me, they're going to have to find a way to get some action on the ground. They're just going, whether it's getting Debo in there, if he plays, moving George Kittle, starting Juice, like you said, Matt, getting him going in the backfield. They're going to have to find a way to get something going, because if this game is 100% on Jimmy Garoppolo's arms, I don't see them winning. He's just not capable of carrying the team like that. So I think they're going to have to find a mix of running back, tight end, fullback, combo to get at least 100 yards rushing. I think if the team has 100 yards rushing, they have a good chance at winning. And on the flip side, on defense, I'm going to say hold. It's tough to even say Chase or Higgins. I'm going to go with Chase because I think he's the more dynamic receiver. Hold Chase to under 60 yards. He's been at, I think I said 66 the last 6 games. I say 6 and under the last 6 games. If they're able to do that and force it to kind of go through T. Higgins, I think they can do a good chance at winning as well. But they also have tight end CJ Uzama, I believe is how you pronounce his name, who is a threat as well. So the Bengals are a tough team defensively, or offensively, I guess I should say, for the 49ers defense to face. So I'm going to say hold Jamar Chase under 66 yards and total 100 yards rushing as an offense. You got to get those 2 things done, and I think you'll find a good chance at winning this game. Yeah. In addition to yours, obviously, because yours were good as well. Thanks for tuning in, Mariah. Appreciate it. Hope I'm wrong, Josh says, but I have a bad feeling. Cincy 30, Niners 21. I agree with you, Josh. It's tough. Clownman says it's going to be tight. I agree with you. Jimmy Garoppolo's arm, man, oh man, hard to ever rely on his arm and confidence as well. It's going to be tight. Play well on the road any given day.
And that's one of the factors is the 49ers do play much better on the road for whatever. We all know the reason. Levi's Stadium is not the place for them, but they definitely bring it together more on the road. And I think it's because you're away from your creature comforts. You're not at your house. You're not sleeping in your own bed. You're waking up in a hotel room and it's all business. You get to the stadium and you basically are there with your task. And, you're not thinking ahead of like, oh man, what are me and my wife going to do when I get home from the game today? Like, am I going to read to my kids or whatever? The 49ers, man, it's all business. So,
yeah. If the 49ers win tomorrow, Dylan, please come back and gloat.
Yeah.
Yes.
If the 49ers lose tomorrow, though, you got to come back too.
Yeah. So we'll see.
So we'll see. Last week, your silence spoke volumes.
Caesar says we need more Trent Sherfield. I would say more Juwan Jennings, but more action from the receivers as a whole. I agree.
Yeah. Now, this I agree with Ian Sharp. Put Sherfield on kick returns. I don't ever want to see Travis Benjamin on a field again.
No, please, no. Please. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I'll be back either way. Appreciate it.
And we'll be going live after Shanahan's press conference. So
yeah. Please come back tomorrow right after Shanahan's press conference. Like Matt said, we'll break down the game. Good or bad.
Yeah. Last few weeks have been a little inconsistent. It's the holidays, y'all. So, things happen. But tomorrow will be a normal day where right after the presser, we're going to be going live.
All right. Offensive, defensive MVP predictions. Who do you got, Matt? Start with the defense.
Nick Bosa, 3 sacks and a forced fumble. It's gonna happen. We got real close one week where he had 2 sacks, and then another week he had a forced fumble. Let's just combine all these. You know what I mean? And 3 sacks and a forced fumble. Let's do it.
Okay. I love it. For me, Azeez Al-Shaair, he's kind of the easy one outside of Nick Bosa recently. And I think he's going to have another solid game, and I think he's going to have another turnover. So whether it's fumble, recovery, interception, Joe Burrow leads the league, like we've been saying. So I think he can force him into another interception. Azeez Al-Shaair, good game. What do you got on offense?
Offense. You know what? I'm gonna go. I don't know. I have a feeling, man. I think that it's gonna be time for. We saw Deebo Samuel get some love. We saw George Kittle get some love. How about Brandon Ayuk? Let's give Brandon Ayuk some love against Cincinnati. If Deebo plays, the attention is going to be on Deebo and George Kittle, which means it's up to Brandon Ayuk. And the last time all these guys were out there together, Ayuk had some nice catches, some very contested catches. Yeah. So I expect more of the same. If they're looking one way, throw it the other way.
I like it.
I'll just say he'll have 4 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown.
Okay. I like that. For me, I'm going to stick with Kittle. I think he's got the hot hand right now. And if Deebo returns, maybe he's not 100%. And I think Kittle goes over 100 yards again tomorrow and has a touchdown. So I'm going Kittle 112 yards and a touchdown, like 6 receptions probably. I like that. All right, guys. Final score predictions. But first, we got to share our MyBookie props of the game in just 1 second. If you guys haven't already, please head over to MyBookie.AG and enter code Hive when you sign up, and that'll automatically get your first deposit matched all the way up to $1,000, matched 100%. So if you deposit $50, $75, they'll match you 50, 75, all the way up to $1,000. And right now, you'll also get a $20 MyBookie casino chip for you guys to gamble at the MyBookie casino. So go take advantage. Again, MyBookie.AG, promo code Hive, as in 49ers Hive, obviously. I know right now they got UFC 269 going on tonight. They got some great props. But because we're talking about the Niners, and I think it's a little late to probably place your bets on the UFC fight, we're going to share our props of the game for the 49ers Bengals matchup tomorrow. Do you want me to go first, Matt?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Okay. So this one, it's always tough, especially when you're trying to predict how the scoring is going to shape out. But I think there's going to be a defensive or special teams touchdown.
You son of a gun.
Was that yours? I'm sorry. I stole it.
I love the defensive tutties.
I stole it.
Go for it. It's fine.
So I think unfortunately, hopefully it's not on the 49ers, but the way they've been playing special teams recently and also the way they've been playing defense, there's been touchdowns going either way. So right now, if you go to MyBookie.ag, promo code Hive, like I said, when you sign up, Get that deposit match, guys. Make some money. It's plus 215 if you bet that there will be a defensive or special teams touchdown. I like those odds, so go check that out.
I'm gonna keep it simple since you took mine. It's very important this 49ers team to, when they lead at the half, they do a good job. When they have to come from behind, they don't. So my prop bet's going to be, the one that I'm going to be looking at is, who goes into halftime with the lead. And for me, unfortunately, y'all ain't going to like this. I think that Cincinnati is going to go in with the lead.
Yep, that's tough. Philip, I'm not even going to try and pronounce. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
I hope I said that right. I took French in high school. That's all I got.
He says, first time donator, like your analysis. Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate your support. Thank you very much. So we're going to get into our final score predictions, guys. But if you haven't already, hit subscribe. We are trying to get to 2,000 subscribers so we can give away a 49ers jersey. We're getting closer. We're coming in on 1,900. Hit subscribe. Help us get there. He said you nailed it, Matt. Awesome.
Hey,
high school French
paid off.
Yep. All right. Who do you got, Matt? Final score predictions. It's going to be ugly.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to, Vegas has this at 1.5. I'm going to have to take Cincinnati in the points, man. I think they win it. Tough, because, you want the 49ers to do, as good as they possibly can. You want them to win. You want them to make the playoffs. I just think that the way the injuries shook out, especially if Ian is right, that he has if Debo does not play tomorrow, this could be even worse than I think it's going to be. I think it's close because the 49ers do play well on the road, but I do think that the Bengals take it 31-28.
All right. Oh, man. I said earlier, I don't think the 49ers are going to be able to overcome all the obstacles and injuries put in their way. And I still don't think they can. I'm going to say 28-24. And the 49ers just love breaking our heart. So I'm going to say it's probably going to come down to something that we saw something similar like we saw last week against Seattle, where it's like last drive of the game, 49ers have a chance, and either it's a fourth down, goal line situation. I don't know what it is. I just have a feeling it's going to come down to the final drive, and they're going to come up short. So 28-24 Cincy. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope we're both wrong.
You know what? I'm relying on the reverse jinx. That's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully we come back here happy tomorrow that we got another 49ers victory. Yeah. Either way, I think it's going to be a close game. That's the thing. I think we're all going to be on the edge of our seats until the very end. So
yeah, I agree, guys. Make sure you comment your final score predictions. Tweet them at us. However you guys can get them to us. If you get it right, like I said, we'll send you some free merch. Dylan says, man, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm excited for this next stream. We will see you there, sir. We will be live.
We will see you there
right after Kyle Shanahan's press conference. So make sure you guys come back for then. But until then, guys, we appreciate you tuning in. This was a great show. Appreciate you guys joining. Great input. Hope you guys all have a great Saturday night.
Absolutely. Make sure y'all stay safe during the holidays. Wake up bright and early tomorrow. Wrap your presents. Get your stuff done early because it's going to be a barn burner. And, can't wait to be here tomorrow night for the stream. It's going to be interesting to say the least. This is a pivotal game for the 49ers. They have to have this one going forward. So we'll see what happens. So with that being said, thank you as always for joining us. Follow us on our, Twitter pages, all our socials, YouTube, all that good stuff. Leave your comments in the comment section about your final scores. You get it. You get some merch. So with that being said, again, thank you as always. We love having you here. And until next time, go Niners.